Last week we talked about narrative writing. Narrative writing tells a story, so it might tell a story about you, or it might tell a story about made-up characters. You're going to be doing some narrative writing this week. When you're writing a narrative, you want to think about basic story structure, which we've talked about many times. So, to start, you're going to introduce who the story is about and where the story takes place. So your narrative will be about yourself, but you're still going to be introducing those characters and the setting. Then you'll get into the beginning of the story, where you'll introduce your problem. And then the middle, where you talk about the actions and reactions of the characters in response to the problem. You want to think of those sequence words. We've been using sequence words since second grade, so you should be really good at them by now. And then at the end, you'll tell how the problem was solved. So your narrative will be set up just like a story that you read. Let's talk about the writing rubric. So your narrative will be graded out of 10 points. 4 points for purpose, focus, and organization. 4 points for evidence and elaboration. And then 2 points for conventions, which is punctuation, spelling, capitalization. Let's talk about what you need to do to get a 10. So you want to make sure that your narrative is clearly and consistently focused, meaning you're staying on topic. You want to make sure that it has clear and effective organization, meaning you're sticking to the order of events. You want to make sure there's a beginning that draws the reader in by telling the reader about the character details and the setting and hints about what's coming up. So in your beginning, we talked about introducing the characters and the setting. We talked about introducing a problem. We want to make sure we have a focused story with event sequence that unfolds naturally. Here's that word, sequence. That's where you're using your sequence words. So you'll have your beginning, you'll have your middle, and then you want to have a logical ending that connects the beginning and the middle of the story. So you know that the beginning of the story introduced the characters, the setting, the problem. Then throughout the story, the characters are acting and reacting, and then in the end, the problem is solved. All right, for evidence and elaboration, you want to make sure that your narrative is well developed. You want to use those description words to talk about your characters and the setting and the event details. You want to make sure you're using dialogue. You want to talk about the experiences and the events. You don't just want to write 3 sentences. First this happened, then this happened, after that this happened, and then in the end this happened. You want to make sure you're really explaining the events. We want to make sure that we're describing the actions and the thoughts and the feelings of the characters. Those are all things that we've looked at as we've read stories in the past. So think about those character responses. To get your 2 points for conventions, you want to make sure that you have a sufficient command, which means a pretty good understanding of basic conventions. That doesn't mean that you're perfect. Sufficient means good enough. So you are allowed to make mistakes. It even says right here, some minor errors, but no patterns. So if you're always missing your punctuation, then you'll probably lose points. But if you forget a period every once in a while in your writing, you won't lose points. You're allowed to make mistakes. The word adequate means good enough. So good enough use of punctuation, capitalization, and sentence formation, and spelling. You're only in 3rd grade, so you are allowed to make mistakes. It's okay. So as you're writing, again, you want to make sure that you're focused, you're staying on topic, your writing's organized, just like the story structure that we've been talking about. You want to make sure you're really explaining those characters' actions and reactions. And of course, you want to try your best with conventions, but you're allowed to make mistakes. So you'll be spending 2 days answering this question. You probably want to start today by introducing your characters and your setting and your problem, and then tomorrow focus on the rest of your story, on those characters' actions and reactions. So you came up with your topic last week. Today and tomorrow you're writing your narrative. The question is, write about a time that you changed how you felt about someone or something, like Alec changed how he felt about Max. So, again, you've already come up with your topic. Now you're turning it into a story. I can't wait to read your writing, and of course, if you need any help, please let me know.